The rain was coming down in sheets as I pulled into the driveway of our house in Seattle. I am Cyril, a software engineer, and at 46 I thought I had it all figured out. A comfortable life, a beautiful wife named Imogen, and a steady career. But life, as I was about to learn, had a cruel sense of humor. I'd been working late on a critical project, pushing deadlines to their absolute limit. When I walked through the door, the house was eerily quiet. Imogen. I called out, my voice echoing through the silent rooms. No answer. I figured she was probably out with friends, something she did more often these days. I shrugged it off and headed to the kitchen to grab a beer. That's when I saw it. A receipt lying on the counter, partially hidden under a stack of mail. The Grandview in it read, with a date from last week. Now, Imogen hadn't mentioned staying at any inn, and we certainly hadn't gone together. A knot began to form in my stomach, a cold dread creeping in. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a mistake, a wrong receipt left behind by someone else, but the feeling persisted, gnawing at me. I decided to check her computer, a move I'm not proud of, but I couldn't shake the unease. Her email was open, a tab conveniently left on Gmail. And there it was. A conversation with someone named Griffin. My heart pounded as I scrolled through the messages, each line a dagger twisting in my chest. They were explicit, filled with promises and rendezvous. The messages confirmed my worst fears. Imogen was having an affair. I sank into a chair, the world spinning around me. Imogen, my wife, the woman I loved, was betraying me. The pain was a physical thing, a crushing weight on my chest. I reread the email, searching for some explanation, some reason why. But there was none, just a blatant disregard for our vows, for our life together. I needed to confront her, but I couldn't do it yet. I needed time to process, to gather my thoughts. I spent the next few hours in a daze, pacing the house, replaying memories in my head, each one now tainted with the knowledge of her betrayal. Imogen came home around 11 p.m., her face flushed, her eyes bright. "Hey honey, long day?" she asked, trying to sound casual. But I could see the guilt in her eyes, the subtle shift in her demeanor. "Yeah," I replied, my voice flat. "A long day." I couldn't bring myself to confront her then. I needed more proof, more understanding of the extent of her deception. So I decided to play along, to act as if nothing was wrong while I gathered the pieces of my shattered world. The next few days were a blur of fake smiles and forced conversations. I watched Imogen, studying her every move, every word. She seemed more distant, more preoccupied. I started tracking her movements, using the GPS on her car, a feature I had installed for safety reasons. The data confirmed my suspicions. She was meeting Griffin regularly, sneaking away during lunch breaks and after work. I needed to know who this Griffin was. I did some digging and found out he was a landscape architect who had been working on a project in our neighborhood. Young, attractive, and clearly someone who didn't care about the sanctity of marriage. The anger inside me was building, a slow burn that threatened to consume me. I wanted to confront them, to expose their affair to the world. But I knew that wouldn't solve anything. I needed a plan, a way to make them pay for what they had done. One evening, Imogen told me she had to work late. "A big presentation," she explained, avoiding my gaze. I knew she was lying. I followed her, keeping a safe distance as she drove to a small apartment complex on the other side of town. I watched as she got out of the car and walked inside. I waited for an hour, the rain still pouring down, my mind racing with thoughts of revenge. Finally, I saw Griffin leave the building, his face smug, a satisfied grin on his lips. That's when I decided to act. I followed Griffin to a local bar where he met up with some friends. I watched him for a while, listening to his conversations, gathering information. He was arrogant, boastful, and completely oblivious to the storm that was about to break over his head. I waited until he was alone, nursing a drink at the bar. Then I approached him, my voice calm and controlled. "Griffin, right?" I asked. He looked up, surprised. "Yeah, who are you?" Cyril, Imogen's husband. The color drained from his face. He knew he had been caught. "Look, I can explain," he stammered. "There's nothing to explain," I said, my voice hardening. "I know everything. I didn't get violent. I didn't yell or scream. I simply told him that I knew about his affair with my wife and that I was going to make sure everyone else knew too. I told him I was going to expose his affair to his colleagues, his friends, his family." I left him there, a trembling mess, his reputation in tatters. Next, I turned my attention to Imogen. I waited for her at home, the evidence of her betrayal laid out on the kitchen table, the receipts, the emails, the GPS data. When she walked in, she knew immediately that the game was up. Cyril, she began, her voice trembling. Don't, I interrupted. Just don't, I know everything. She broke down, sobbing, begging for forgiveness, but I was done. The trust was gone, the love extinguished. I told her I wanted a divorce and that I wanted her out of the house. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings and emotional turmoil. The divorce was messy, but I didn't care about the money. I just wanted her out of my life. As for Griffin, his career was ruined. His firm fired him and his reputation was mud. He tried to apologize, to explain, but I refused to listen. He had made his choice, and he had to live with the consequences. In the end, I was left with nothing but the wreckage of my shattered marriage, but I was also free. Free from the lies, the betrayal, the deceit. It took time, but eventually I started to heal. I focused on my work, my friends, and my hobbies. I rediscovered the joy in life, the simple pleasures that I had forgotten during my marriage. Looking back, I don't regret anything I did. I stood up for myself, I protected my dignity, and I refused to be a victim. Imogen and Griffin paid the price for their actions, and I moved on with my life. The rain has stopped now, and the sun is starting to peek through the clouds. A new day is dawning, a new chapter in my life, and I am ready for it.